For millions of Americans, that annual Social Security COLA announcement is a huge deal, one of the most important financial updates of the year. But lately, with the constant threat of a government shutdown, there's a new question on everyone's mind. Could that actually delay the news we're all waiting for? Okay, let's dive into this and break down exactly what's going on. All right off the bat, here's the number everyone wants to see. Based on all the inflation data we've seen so far, analysts are projecting that the 2026 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, that's the COLA, is going to be an increase of about 2.7%. Now, of course, this is just a projection, but it gives us a really solid idea of what to expect.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? While a 2.7% raise is the forecast, a potential government shutdown throws a wrench in the works, at least when it comes to the timing. So let's look at what's actually at risk here, and maybe more importantly, what isn't.
Okay, let me just say the most important thing first so we're all clear. Your Social Security payments are safe. They're considered mandatory spending, which is just a fancy way of saying they are funded completely separately from the annual government budget battles. So even if there's a shutdown, those checks will keep going out on schedule. The system has never, ever missed a payment in its entire history, and a shutdown isn't going to change that.
So, now that we've got that big worry out of the way, let's take a closer look at this 2.7% projection. What does that actually mean in real dollars for the average person who relies on Social Security?
The COLA is basically an annual raise that's designed to protect your benefits from inflation. I mean, think about it. As the cost of everything from groceries to gas goes up, the COLA is there to make sure your Social Security check can still cover your expenses. It helps your buying power keep up.
Okay, so what does 2.7% actually look like in your wallet? Well, an increase like that would boost the average retired worker's monthly benefit by about $54. For the average disabled worker, we're talking about an extra $42 a month. Now, that might not sound like a life-changing amount, but for anyone on a fixed income, you know that every single dollar counts. All right, let's get to the main complication here, this shutdown. And we have to make a really key distinction. The risk isn't to your payments. It's all about the timing of the official COLA announcement. That's the part that could get delayed. You see, the thing is, the Social Security Administration, the SSA, they're ready to go. They're able to do their work. The real issue is that they depend on another government agency for critical information, and that's the source of the whole potential delay. So, why would one agency shutdown cause such a headache for another one? Well, to get that, we need to take a quick peek behind the curtain at how the COLA is actually calculated. It's a pretty straightforward step-by-step process. So here's how it usually works. First, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, they're the ones who release all the monthly inflation data. They use a specific yardstick called the CPIW, which basically just tracks the prices of things that working families typically buy. Then the Social Security Administration takes that data, crunches the numbers, and announces the official COLA for the next year in mid-October. As you can see, everything starts with the BLS. And this is where the problem pops up. During a government shutdown, the BLS has to suspend a lot of what it does, and that includes releasing that crucial inflation report. Without that data, the Social Security Administration is stuck. They just can't do the final math. Step 1 gets paused, and the rest of the process has to just wait. This timeline really puts it all into perspective. The COLA calculation is based on the average inflation from the third quarter of the year. That's July, August, and September. The SSA needs that final piece of the puzzle, that September data, which is supposed to come out right before the big announcement in mid-October. So no September data means no official announcement. Simple as that. Now that we get the mechanics of a potential delay, let's bring this all back to what really matters, your personal budget. Because honestly, even if the announcement arrives right on time, there's another major factor that's going to affect how much of that raise you actually get to keep. This is what a lot of experts call the lose-lose scenario. So on one hand, you've got the average retiree seeing a gain of about $54 from the COLA. Great. But on the other hand, the Medicare Part B premium, which for most people is deducted right from their Social Security check, is projected to go up by about $21 a month. That eats up a huge chunk of your raise before you even see it. And you know what, this quote from The Motley Fool really hits the nail on the head. This isn't a new problem, it's a recurring one. For years now, the cost of healthcare has tended to rise a lot faster than general inflation. And that means these Medicare premium hikes regularly eat into the annual COLA, putting a real squeeze on the budgets of folks on a fixed income.
Okay, so let's tie all this together with the most important takeaways and what you should expect moving forward. Because really, the whole point of this is to be informed, not to be worried.
Let's just say it one more time, because this is, without a doubt, the most critical piece of information here. A government shutdown will not stop your Social Security payments. They are safe and they will arrive on time, period.
So, to quickly recap everything we've covered, first, the 2026 COLA is projected to be around 2.7%. Second, a shutdown only risks delaying the announcement, not your actual payments. Remember that. And finally, when you're planning your budget, make sure you factor in those rising Medicare costs. The goal through all of this is to stay informed so you can be prepared, not worried.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought. We've seen how a gain in one area, like the COLA, can get gobbled up by a rising cost somewhere else. It's a constant balancing act that millions of people deal with every year. So it makes you think, when you sit down to plan your own budget, what's the one factor you have to prioritize above everything else?